to us when we were younger. And because of those things, and because we either never dealt with them or because we had to um, repress or we have what they call repressed um, memories and emotions, we've never properly grown. We've never properly healed. We've never properly navigated through those emotions. And so all we know is that when certain things happen, that is the way that we respond. That is the way that and it's because, again, somewhere but in our mind, right, between the synapse and the other portions and places in our mind, what begins to happen is that we have never formed a proper connection on how to navigate these emotions. When you look at studies, the studies show that women mature and are able to handle and navigate emotions a lot better and clearer than men are. But I want to take that a step further because while that may be true, I think that it also stands the reason that part of the reason why women are able to handle those emotions so much better, so much easier, and faster than what men are is simply because the problem that men have so many times is that we as babies or as boys, when we cry, somebody told us, "Hey, man up, stop crying. No, 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 no. You need to man up. Stop being a little baby, right?" And so we've put up an emotional blockage there because we were not allowed to express our every emotion, right? I mean, even we've got to get to this place or get to, excuse me, a place or understanding where we allow emotions that our children have, our little boys have, to be expressed, not in a violent manner, but we have to. One of the things that I understand, right? I remember a couple of years ago, Timothy's. It's been on maybe about a year or two ago. No, it's been over about 2 years ago, since before the hurricane. Timothy's mom, right, allowed him to come and spend some time with me, and so I had Timothy with me for about a week or so. And one of the things that I remember, one of the situations that rings so clear with me, is that when Timothy and we were driving down the road, me and Timothy and my wife, and we passed a gas station, and Timothy said to me, "Man, I want an icy. I want an icy." And I said, "No, Timothy, I don't. I'm not stopping to get an icy. I don't have icy money." And he was like, "Yeah, you do. You do have money, right? You can give me an icy." And I was like, "No, no, Timothy, I can't, and I'm not, right?" And we passed by a gas station, and Timothy got very upset with me when I passed the gas station, so much so that Timothy, he had to voice his opinion, right? Or he had to voice his emotions. And I didn't shun him for his emotions, right? He got very upset. He shouted a little bit. He cried a little bit. And I said, "Timothy, what's wrong?" He said, "I'm upset with you." I said, "Well, why are you upset?" He said, "Because you won't take me to get an icy." And so he and I had a dialogue and a discussion about that. But the thing that, like I said, reigns so clearly in that is that Timothy was able to articulate, and I gave him the space to articulate his emotions. But then I did not, say, "Hey, well, you don't need to be upset with me because of that, or you need to suck it up or get over that," right? Because I understood those were his feelings. Those were his emotions at the time, and they were valid for him, right? They were valid to him. And so I want to encourage us as we deal with our man to man segment on today. We've got to get to this place where we allow our boys, because if I'm being honest, that's where it starts. It starts in boyhood and then goes from boyhood to manhood. And we've got to allow our boys to express their feelings and to express their emotions, even if those emotions lead them to crying, even if those emotions get a little bit mushy, if, as you will. You know, one of the things I've shared with you all before, one of the things that really stuck out to me, I remember being, I've shared this with you all. You know, I'm not a short fella, right? I'm 6'9", and I've been 6'8", 6'9", since I was in the eighth grade. Right before the eighth grade, I was still very tall. Like I didn't just hit a growth spurt. I've always been tall. I've always been the tallest one in the class. Right. So long story short, I remember, right, I was about 11 years old. I was about 11 years old. And I was just about to become 12, and I was very tall. And I remember I had come to Lake Charles. I believe it was on my summer visit, right? My summer visit. And I was staying with my grandparents. And I remember I went and hung out with my dad, and my dad took me out and we went and had fun, all the stuff we normally would do, right? I'd had a grand time with my dad, and then when it came time for him to drop me off at my grandparents' house, I did what I normally do. I went in for a hug, but this time he put his hand out, in my chest, said, no, that's not how men, right, greet to one another. That's not how men say bye to one another. He said, from now on, you shake my hand. You don't do that hugging stuff, right? But I grew up hugging. I hugged my mom. I could hug my sister, my dad, yeah, I think I could hug my stepdad. I could hug, you know, um, my grandparents. I hugged. I was a hugger, right? And my dad, I remember, he put his hand out. He said, no. You getting to be a little man. You're getting too big for all that hugging. You need to shake my hand when you meet me. That's how men greet each other. That's how men say goodbye. And I remember that put me in a weird place. Because again, I'm 11 years old, and all my life up to this point, I've been a hugger, right? And I couldn't help my size. I couldn't help any of that. And I mean, I couldn't. I knew, I know I'm getting older, but he stopped me, and I remember going inside the house, and my grandparents were inside the house, and I remember my grandmother. She looked and she said, "What's wrong, James?" I said, "My dad said I can't hug him no more." Like he said, that's not what men do. And I just she saw the confusion on my face, the hurt on my face, and she said, "No. Listen." She said, "That's just the way he is. That's the way that he cares, the way he feels. But you can still hug. Matter of fact, you can hug your grandfather right now. Give your grandfather a hug." And I remember, he allowed me to hug him, and we hugged. And she made me to know that it was okay. And she also helped me to understand that not every man is that way, right? Not every man, just deals with handshakes and doesn't do, but I had to learn and understand. She helped me to learn and understand that not every man knows how to process emotions. That was the first time that I learned, that I began to see that men process and handle things differently. And I I developed such a close relationship with my grandparents, and particularly with my grandfather, because I always knew that I could hug on my grandfather if I wanted to, even at me being 6'8", 6'9", and him being the size man that he was. He wasn't. My grandfather, Cleveland Nash, was not a large man. He was a small figured man. He wasn't very tall, right? But he still would allow me to hug him. You know, I remember there was a family reunion where me and my cousin Abraham Nash and a couple of other fellas, we were all standing there, and I remember that we my grandfather was there, and they say, "Oh, pick up your grandfather," and I remember he allowed me to pick him up, you know, and it didn't frustrate him, it didn't hurt him, he didn't get mad, he didn't try to fight me, he was okay with it. And as men, we've got to learn how to not take everything so personally, not take everything so to heart, but we've got to learn how to express emotions. We've got to learn how to show joy. That's one of the things, right? I'm talking about emotional blockages. That's one of the things that I think that we as men um, are sorely lacking in, and it shows, and even in our families, is that we don't often express or show our happiness, our joys, or our sadness and our hurt. We're very good with expressing anger. We're very good with expressing displeasure. We're very good at expressing those things. The only time that some men ever see and some boys have ever seen their father happy is at a sporting event, right? That's the only time they've ever seen their father excited and happy and all that, is when the sports are on. But your son, your daughters, your children, they deserve to see you happy. They deserve to see you express what happiness looks like outside of a sporting event, right? I honestly, I'm just being very honest. I don't know if I can ever tell you when I've seen, some of my father figures, right? Because I have my dad, my stepdad, and all my biological father. I don't know if I can tell you the times that I've seen them happy, right? That I've seen them express happiness. I can clearly define and tell you the times I've seen them unhappy, right? But we have to do a better job of removing those emotional blockages. And like I said, this month, I may have a psychologist on, but I'm gonna have an entire month of man to man where I'm going to have a psychologist on who's going to talk to us about the mental and emotional states of men, right? And they're going to be able to break some of these things down, and you may be able to, get some information from them about how they can help you, and if you want to get into some counseling, right? But I understand that our boys need to see us as men in all emotional states. When we're happy, right? Even when we're sad, they need to know that it's okay as a man to be sad, and to be sad publicly. You know, it's all right if a man cries in public. You ain't gotta always go off somewhere and be like, oh no, I ain't crying. I got something in my eye. No, no, no. Yeah, no, I was crying. Yeah, I watched this movie, and it made me feel a certain way. I shed a tear or two. There's nothing wrong with that. And we've got to get to a place to where we stop shunning one another, where we stop judging one another, where we stop putting down one another because we're expressing emotions. Men, I want to challenge you. I want to encourage you. Last week, your homework was to reach out to another man, right? And to see how he was doing emotionally, mentally, right? Physically. How's he doing? You doing all right, brother? Here's your homework for this week. And I hope you did your homework on last week. Here's our homework for this week, is to allow yourself to feel and to express emotions, right? To allow yourself to feel and to express your emotions, right? Publicly. Publicly. I'm gonna close with this. One of the things, and I keep saying we're gonna dive more into this, but again, there are some other things that happened right when I was a child, when I was very young, that have helped to form or to shape how I respond in situations now. I remember, like even though I'm 6'9", and even though I've always been larger, at one point my sister, right, my middle sister was a bit, she used to would hit me or whatever the case be, not in a like she would beat on me, but if she got mangry or mad or whatever, she would punch me in the chest or in the stomach or something like that, right? And I remember would be gasping for breath and trying to catch my breath and all of that. And one of the issues that arose out of that, I remember even one time I frustrated her and made her so mad that she threw a butcher knife at me, and I thankfully had the you know wherewithal and the speed enough to jump out of the way, right? But because of those experiences, whenever I'm around a female, or I'm sorry, let me say a woman, and she is agitated, angry, or upset with me in particular, and she maybe hits on something, and I see that aggression, it causes me to almost ball up, right? It causes me to get, because in my mind, there's an association, right, with when a woman gets agitated and upset and she maybe starts hitting on things, that the next thing that might happen is she might try to hit me or throw something at me. And so I ball up and get defensive because of something that happened to me in my childhood. We've got to begin to, and I'm building up toward this. That's why I had to deal with emotional blockages, right? First, and then last week we had to explore man motions, he motions, emotions. I'm building up to the place to where we begin to uncover and to uproot some of the things that happened to us in our childhood that cause us to respond the way we do now. So, ladies, as I close this thing out, let me encourage you, be careful with how you're raising your sons, how you yell at your sons, how you discipline even your sons. I'm not saying don't spank them or whip them. That's necessary, but allow them also to express their emotions, and don't beat them, not beat them, don't whip them, hurt them, don't do anything to them for expressing emotions. But show them and teach them that there is a way to express emotions without resorting to violence, right? There's a way to express the emotions without, all that kind of stuff. So we've got to learn, and we've got to teach the next generation how to express and to deal with and to handle the emotions that they feel. Friends, this is our man-to-man segment, or this has been our man-to-man segment. All right, we're dealing with he motions. I'm sorry, man motions, he motions, emotions. All right, I pray that you've enjoyed this. It is available on my YouTube channel. I am encouraged TV. I'm gonna give you that one more time. I am encouraged TV. It's also on Facebook, on this station's Facebook page, 93.5 KPPM Shabbat Radio, 24/7 gospel, right? Then, in addition to that, it's on or on my Facebook page, James W. Chavis. It's on I Am Encouraged Radio Facebook page. It's on Instagram as James W. Chavis, and it's on Twitter as 93.5 KPPM Shabbat Radio. All right. So it's on all those pages and places. Definitely check this out. Share it with a man who you think could benefit from this. All right. All right, friends. Well, let's take a quick commercial break. Then right after this commercial break, we'll be right back with more